In this training module, we're going to go through inventory creation. So we're going to touch on all the different methods of creating inventory and which situation each one is suited to. So first, head over to the inventory section and click on all inventory. You can easily find all of the options up here in the upper right to create inventory, but I just wanted to also note that some of these options are available on the imports page. You can access, obviously, create and import up here in the upper right, but you can also access the scan UDIs to create inventory method here on that page. So we're going to go back to all inventory and work in this space. And so the first way we're going to add inventory is to click scan UDIs to add. The first thing we have to talk about, which we also discussed in the video, introducing you to the inventory, is that every item, when it's created, must have a product line and a catalog record. So head over to the product line section, check out your product lines, make sure you know which one belongs to your inventory item, and then also the catalog records. In some of the inventory creation methods, you can actually create the catalog as you go, but it's always a good idea, I think, to create the catalog record beforehand, because then you can populate all of these extra details. So on the catalog item page, you can click new catalog item, populate whether it's a device, a container, or a pack. Select the new catalog number that's going to match this inventory when we create it, what manufacturer it belongs to, and then which product lines should be assigned to it. Every catalog record needs at least one product line assigned. Then click next, and here you can start getting into the description and the cost of goods. One note on the description: if you populate a description in the catalog, it will appear when you're creating inventory. However, it can be overwritten, so you still can enter individual unique descriptions if you want, but I think entering one here is good because it sets a standardized description for your inventory. Same thing here with cost of goods. If you enter a cost of goods here at the catalog level, this will get entered in new inventory being created, but the cost of goods can be overwritten and a unique cost assigned. So you can have it both ways. All right, so then create your catalog record. And then it's time to start creating inventory. So after your catalog and product lines are created, you can head to the all inventory page, click new inventory, and our first option we're going to use is scan UDIs to add. So I'm going to be using a UDI here that doesn't match what we just created, since it was just kind of junk. So I'll click scan UDIs to add, and we already have one here from the last import we did, so I'll go ahead and remove it. Then we'll click scan items. The first option you have is to scan a barcode. So I'll just scan one here on my phone. You can use the camera on whatever device you're using at the moment. So there's my device camera. It already scanned my UDI that quickly, and you can see it already read the item. It went to the GoodID database as well as parsing the UDI and is showing me the information contained in that UDI. So we have the lot number, the DI, the catalog number, all this great info is already populated for me. So you can see how this is going to be one of the fastest ways to create inventory. You just scan the barcode labels on your devices and enter them one after another here. Because if we want to scan more, all I have to do is click scan and we'll be able to scan another item. It's also worth noting that you can take the UDI and just go ahead and search manually. So if you have the UDI as text, you can search for it that way. And what we're seeing here is when you enter a UDI for the second time, or if we scan it a second time, it'll let us know that we're duplicating. So it wants to make sure we're not adding more quantity than we mean to. So we can choose whether we want to increment or decrement. And then if you want to make sure that that choice persists, you can check this box. Just be sure that you're aware, that if you click increment and then check that box, every time you scan that label, it will increment the quantity. So I'm just going to ignore duplicates. And then note here a few changes you can make. You can change the manufacturer of this inventory. So maybe it was originally produced by one manufacturer, but now you own it and you want to select your manufacturer. You can do that here. And then you can change the quantity. So no need to go scan everything if you don't want. You can just increment the quantity manually. Next, click Import Inventory, and you'll have an opportunity to select whose custody you're going to import it into. So most often it's the organization, but feel free to select from the drop-down menu. And then the inventory will by default be created as billable, but you have the option of creating it as unbillable if you wish. Click Continue, and then that inventory will be created. You can see that it treated that inventory creation as an import. So any inventory you create by scan can also be referenced in your past imports. They have these long strings of code that get generated, but you can go in and even see the inventory that was created during that import. So when we're thinking about when to use the scan UDI method, I think the obvious answer is when you have physical labels. So when you're scanning physical items or you have barcodes to scan, that's a great option. The second scenario is if you have UDIs that you can copy and paste into the scanner. That'll allow you to search the GoodID database and remove some of the manual work as well. However, if you have just all of the information in a spreadsheet, or you only need to create one batch of something, then creating manually is a good way of doing that. So click Add Devices and Containers, and then you'll get this screen, and then you'll get this screen here. So select if it's a device or container. Remember that a container is an inventory item that doesn't get sold. It holds other inventory. So we're going to create a device in this instance. Select the custodian it will belong to when it's created. So that'll be the organization. What manufacturer created it. I'm going to automatically pull the product line from the catalog since we have that association already done. And I'm going to select from the catalog records that I already have. I can type ahead if I want to narrow down the field, or if I haven't created the catalog number yet, I can click Add New to create it right here on the fly. But I'll just select one here. See the device description populated automatically, but if I want, I can change it. And then enter the quantity. This will be the quantity of inventory created that matches all of this product information. So we are creating one batch right now as we go. So this is a great way of adding inventory. You received a shipment and you have one batch or two batches to create. So click Next. Add any search tags that you want. Search tags are user-defined search terms, so if there's any data we don't allow you to track, you can track it here, or select from the tags you already have created. You can add any notes, and then click Next. And here's where we're getting into pretty specific statuses and production level information. So if this inventory is already consigned, you can add a consignment status. Most often, I think you're creating it as ready for sale, but if you want to put a hold status on it, you can. Just be aware that this needs to be updated at the item level, so every device will need to be changed as it becomes ready for sale. Inventory type is a good one to set. This inventory is most likely not already in the field, so we don't need to create a due back date. If you already are using custom locations, feel free to use one here if it applies. But remember that everything you set here will be applied to all of the inventory you're creating. So don't get too into the weeds with individual statuses just yet. Again, we can change the billable status here. It is set to unbillable by default. And so you want to turn on billable, and then you can add your list price and cost of goods. Inventory is most often not reusable. Making it reusable means that it will get added back into your inventory after it's used in a case. So after the case is submitted for billing, it would return to the inventory in your custody or in that user's custody. This is really meant for like instruments, but it can also be used in situations where you're managing exceptions. So perhaps you have particular pricing constructs or inventory items that you need to keep in your inventory over time, that could be an instance where you use reusable. Once you've done that, click Next, and here we can enter the UDI. So I'll go ahead and paste in the UDI we had. It's going to be different than the info I've been selecting, but you can click Verify to parse the UDI, and it'll populate the pieces of information that it finds. So the system really treats the UDI as the source of truth when it comes to the lot number, expiration date, etc. If you don't have a UDI or you have a secondary barcode, you can enter that in the barcode field here, and that will make that barcode scannable and searchable. So it's a good idea if you're managing any barcodes beyond the UDI. Or if there, for some reason, is an issue with your UDI and it can't be parsed, you could still put it here in the barcode section, and then it would be a scannable barcode, even if our system says it's not a valid UDI. So little workaround there if you need it. But click Create, Confirm, and your inventory will be created. So here we are on the device details screen for one of the pieces of inventory. And if we want, we can scroll through and review the data for accuracy. But we're going to move on to the next inventory creation method. So I'll click New Inventory. And the last option we want to talk about here is Import CSV. So this is when you are importing a spreadsheet of inventory. And in another video, we're going to talk about how to build an import. So I'm not going to take all that time here. We're just going to go ahead and select an import. Just to look at one real quickly, here is an import file. You can see each line is like a batch. It has a product line, a catalog number, a description, a UDI, although these are all kind of mashed together. You can see each line is like a batch. And so all of the inventory on each line will be created based on the quantity you have here in the quantity column, and it'll all match the info on that line. So in another video, we'll go deeper on all of the product info here and how to build your import. But if you have it built and it's time to import it, you just select your import file in this window here, click Next. If you're using our template, you can check this box, which will automatically map your fields for you, but we're going to do it manually. So select the manufacturer. If you want to change the hold status, feel free. It'll apply to your entire import. So if you have a large import, remember you're going to have to update the hold status on every single device. So just be wary of that. And then if you want to set an individual import name that's not your file name, you can do that here. And click Next. And here is where we map our files, and here is where we map our fields. So on the left-hand side, you have the fields in Beacon. And on the right-hand side, we have drop-down menus with all of the column headings in our file. So we're essentially going to go through and map the column headings to the fields in Beacon. And again, if you're using our template, we can do this automatically for you. But I always think it's a good idea to review your work. So we're going to do this manually and check our work. Quick note on lot number and expiration. If you're uploading a UDI, then whatever is in the UDI will be considered the source of truth. The lot number that you load will be overwritten once the UDI is parsed, which will probably happen the first time the inventory is saved. So just remember that the UDI is the source of truth, and if it already contains a lot number, then you probably just don't need to upload or map the lot number field here. Which is a fair point. Any columns that you don't map won't be imported, but the only ones that must be mapped are the ones with the red star. I'll just fast forward through the rest of this. All right, and when you have all of your mapping done, you can scroll through, make sure it all looks right. I think double checking is always a good idea. If you want to just check the data, you can get a preview of what's actually in that column by expanding each little row. That can help you make sure you've mapped it correctly. But, make sure they're mapped correctly because you don't want the wrong data going into the wrong field. That'll create a huge problem for you that you'll have to fix. So if it all looks good, click Create. Your import will start. And you can feel free to move throughout the system as this is processing. But once your import is complete, you'll see the status update from pre-processing to success. You can see the quantity imported and so on. If you have a failure, you can click in and see a report of what the issue was with that import. It can help you dial it in order to fix your import to import successfully. And if you want to review the inventory you just created, click on the import, click view imported items, and the system will jump you to an automatically filtered view of the inventory you just created so you can review it. So that is how we can create inventory using 3 different methods, and tune into our next training module to learn more about inventory.